Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the wild world of pairs. This is Michael Gandy, your humble captain for the flight, with my co-pilot Michael Gaskill, ace partner, developer, programmer, architect extraordinaire. He's the Yoda of all things statistical. We're going to go ahead and do the in-flight movie again today. No data sets. I want you to sit back, try to absorb some stuff. You know, we try to play around, send you some sample data sets once in a while for some new users, stuff like that. But, you know, we're going to talk about some stuff today that is important, and I just want you to kind of play along, watch, rather than actually play along. Watch and absorb it. So get the tray tables up and seats in the upright position, all that good stuff. Well, pricing. How much does Pairs cost? You know, good Lord, it's been free for a long time. We're still running the Pairs free for now, but I'm telling you that billing is imminent. I think I said that 2 weeks ago, but billing is imminent. We're still free for now. I'm pretty sure it's the longest free trial period ever, but hey, you can't say we haven't given you lots of time to explore Pairs and get up to speed in a comprehensive statistical environment. This is not regression, people. This is the gold standard, paired sales analysis, synthesized, married with the iterative method. And it goes even further than that. We could literally do a 2-day, wall-to-wall, briefly touching on all the things that you can do inside this platform, which is a statistical modeling platform. I'll tell you plainly, the greatest one out there in the real estate space. There's nothing like it. That's why I can tell you. In a land of all things regression, this platform stands alone. And when I talk about we marry the gold standard paired sales analysis and the iterative method, I'm not even, going into the fact that you can marry in depreciated cost, insert that into a statistical model. You can do so many wild things, and we'll show you some of that. We'll go over a little bit today and talk about a couple of topics. But anyways, so we're free for now. That's going to end. We've got Michael's got a whole host of enhancements on deck. Things that are, everything's a process. Any method's a process. You got to learn it. Takes a little bit of a time investment. You got to be willing to explore. Now, the great thing is, if you go to the bottom of any page, you got the YouTube channel link. Now, we went ahead, if you go to the YouTube channel link on any page at the bottom, and you go to the playlist, we've kind of compartmentalized this stuff. Now, for example, we got the live webinars over here. You guys want to, you Vegas peeps can laugh if you want. I simulated a rural market in Old Henderson with a custom. I simulated it. When I say that, I mean I pulled out, we submarket filtered down to 16 properties that would give you spaghetti with any method. And then we get credible all day with pairs, but we have to roll up the sleeves, and we show you how to do that. So this Saturday, May 2nd, is a must. That first hour covers a nasty and shows you some of the power at your fingertips with this platform. Seriously. As a valuation professional, unmatched. And just watch, put that one on. But if you're like me and you have a multi-monitor situation, it's totally awesome. While you're plugging away, typing your reports, have a monitor going. You got an extra handy laptop around the house. Log in. Play these webinars in the background. I'm not saying not focus on it, but if you hear something out of the side of your ear, you're drinking a cup of coffee or taking a break, and you see something that interests you, or I'm talking about a topic that is something that you're questioning. All of these, we cover a whole different ton of stuff. I mean, we try to mix it up. So, by all means, play them in the background. These recorded ones are awesome. I mean, they're running almost a couple hours apiece. So you've got a ton of stuff here. Back to that playlist, though, you've got some training videos getting started. Here's that rural one that we chopped it up if you wanted just to watch that rather than the whole webinar. We got this 30 minutes understanding one. We got to really, once you get going and you try it a few times and you go, I'll show you a place to read on some logic points here on the site. But once you start doing that and you're getting comfortable, but you want to know more, watch this one right here. This old boy, GandySoft Pairs Features and Functions. Now this one is not so heavy on the analysis side. This talks about all the stuff you can do, strategies, stuff like that. So, I mean, tons of stuff for you. And again, here's another important part. If you click on anywhere on the support, here's a list of FAQs. If you don't know what you want to know about pairs, here's FAQs. But here's one that's better. If you kind of want to start, listen, I'm boots on the ground appraiser every day, all day. That's what I do. Except for I dedicate time to this too, so don't get me wrong. But if you got an extra 5 minutes at the end of the day, 10 minutes, light reading, you got your iPad out, this is not a CD-ROM based platform. I have AVT on a CD-ROM. You install it on your computer and that's it. You can run this from your iPad, your iPhone, Android, laptop, at home, whatever, internet-ready TV. You have options. So if you got a few extra minutes, go into the support, go to the knowledge base articles. USPAP, AO18, if you want to use pairs, which, trust me, if you don't want to use it, it's because you don't understand yet what it can do. But if you want to use it, AO18, you need to understand what's going on under the hood and be able to communicate that to your end user. Pairs method defined doc. You can copy and paste this. It's in every addendum that I have when I put the pairs validation page, which I put in every report. So this is in my addendum. We've even got some links in there to the challenge people, the underwriters that may, irritate you at times. They can go and look at the actual definitions, but we tell you everything going on. But this knowledge-based stuff is, you want to understand certain things that are going on. So many different functions that you can do in pairs. Solution strategies. Solving once. Solving fully, adjusting only. Solve once. Again, this is paired sales analysis, the gold standard, married with the iterative method. So there's generational solving going on here. You can solve once. Sometimes mitigates errors in the data from getting churned out. Typically, the iterative method is a solve fully strategy, is a refinement tool. You typically get better robust adjustment estimates with that. However, if you get errors in the data, unlike when you get that in regression, it just gives you out, bad stuff. Nothing you can do. You can go in and try to filter your data differently, but at the end of the day, you get a number, and if you don't like that number, tough. With pairs, you have, and we're going to go over this today, you've got some strategies. Maybe the iterative method is picking up that error, and you want to stop it at solve once, and you may render a more credible adjustment. As you get going, read these things and you'll start to understand what's going on. And like I said, if you're just playing around, I don't know what I want to know, peruse these FAQs. A lot of them have link backs to the knowledge base articles that might cover this more in detail. You're going to get you're going to get the short boy answer on an FAQ. But look, you got links that go into, more knowledge-based stuff. Pairs versus regression. We're not opponents of regression, but I'll darn well tell you where regression fails, where we deliver all day, every day. So, today I have two scenarios. Now that we're done with my little diatribe there. Today we have two scenarios I want to run through with you, two important items to show you. Now, I of course have an admin panel, so I can't mess with your account. I can see your analysis. I can go in the back end and pull your data out and go into my admin panel and run an analysis on your data if I see something out of whack. And you know what? Hey, I'm curious by nature. I'm a number junkie. So I see a lot of users, not always, but sometimes have, beautiful looking modeled out models, I should say, statistical models. Everything awesome that I can have correlation with and see where the values would be reasonable, except for there'll be one variable in that model that's suspect to me. I mean, if I can have correlation with 8 variables or 6 variables, and 6 of them I say, okay, I know the correlation where that would be here in price wise, this, that, and the other. If I can see one in that model though, that's goofball, I can spot it. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. If you're in Iowa, it doesn't matter if you're in New Jersey, California, Texas. We got you guys mapped all over the place. I can tell. I don't need to know your market to know numbers. You don't either. So you guys that are on today watching me, we're gonna run through some data here in Vegas. You don't need to know my market in order to understand numbers. There's always correlation. So I see a lot of analysis that are awesome, statistical models done by you guys, but there's one variable that I know is goofball wacky, and I pull the data out a lot of times. I'll run those models on myself, on my own admin panel, and I'll tackle that one variable. And by goodness, if I can't get most of the other variables to be the same as what you have, but I can get that goofball one to reasonable town. So we're going to show you this first one today. We're going to show you one where the options you have. Now, this is really a key distinction with pairs. Again, remember, regression is just an equation. There's no magic there. It's just an equation. But that equation gives you an output, period. End of story. That's the output. You have options with pairs. I mean, it's really the key distinction. You have options. You don't have to settle for one method. You can do other ones. And you can't do that with any other program. You have options. So this first analysis, there's a challenging variable that I'm gonna show you in an otherwise fairly balanced model. And I'm going to show you not one, but 2 different options to get a credible model with that one variable. Because here at the end of the day, guys, we have to validate the credibility of the adjustments. You may build a wonderful statistical analysis model for a property that has awesome, just looks awesome all day, every day. But here's the thing. If you leave one variable in your model that is not reasonable and credible, and only you can define that, I know what credible is. If you leave one in that's not credible, or no solution, or just something that's crazy, $48,000 garage bay or something like that, no matter how good all the other numbers are in your model, your whole model's garbage. Because even though we isolate variables and we solve, they're still interrelated in a statistical model. So you can't have one. You can't get 6 out of 7 and say, well, I'll take that 6 out of 7 because those are awesome. Because that 7th one is interrelated with the rest. So what you got to do is you got to learn how to tackle that problem child. And we're going to do that today. So let's start off first. I'm going to go ahead and pop up my Glaver in this first test. So in this first test, if any of you Vegas people are probably laughing right now, you know where I've highlighted pretty much the Green Valley Ranch area. Now, you guys can argue with me if you want. You have your own opinion about the market area boundaries. I've owned two houses inside Green Valley Ranch in the last 17 years. So, actually, 3 if you want to get technical. Now I swoop it down here because there's still some carriage lane stuff over here. And I did swoop it over to Stephanie. I know that the legal boundary of Green Valley Ranch is actually Valverde. Actually, I think even this little enclave right here to the east of Valverde is incorporated into the Green Valley Ranch master plan. But you guys know as well as I do, there are times where a master plan, there's areas right on the outskirts that flow with that master plan. I mean, you just don't have to pay the SIDs. So I swung it over here to Stephanie. But I was actually doing a property, excuse me, we're going to hypothetically do a property out here in Green Valley Ranch. V-Good construction quality, Pulte home, tricked out, upper level, tract home, $470,000 area, let's say, 2,900 square foot. Definitely a nice house. So now you guys struggle sometimes, and there's a couple of ways I could do this data for me. I could do 1 and 2 story and make myself a whole lot easier and call it a day, because I know the more data I get, the more easier it is to get balance. But I'm going to try to simulate how it would be to be challenging. Now, I did this earlier with Michael, and we were laughing because the program's just so dang good. It just sniffed out the good numbers right off the jump. I couldn't even try to mess with it. But I'm just going to, now, usually we pull listings, pendings, contingents, and sales. Now, you guys know that we don't use anything for the adjustment support other than the sales. Hey, before I get going, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, somebody just took advantage of it. There's a message area down below. Go ahead and put in your message. Michael will feed those questions to me. And we can stop intermittently if you fall behind, or if I talk about something and I roll over it too fast. Feel free to drop in something in the message. Michael can tell me to put the reins on it. But anyways, so only thing that goes in the adjustments or estimates are sales. But I want you in the habit of listings, pendings, and contingents, and your sales in your data download, because we've got some crazy wild stuff that we're going to be delivering for you that you're going to be able to at least get some market insight into those. Now, we're not going to use them for adjustments, but nonetheless, it's pretty insightful when you can do some crazy stuff with listing and pending activity that we're going to do pretty soon. But for right now, I'm just going to put in solds just to show you we're going to get limited data. Now, you Vegas people are probably laughing because you know that there's, well, I'm not going to say it yet. I think I was a 2,900 and something square footer. So, well, hypothetically, whatever. My parameters were plus or minus 25% livable. Now, I'm a 1 story. Now, in Vegas, in Glaver, I could leave that blank and have way more data. Why can I leave that blank? Because we have a variable in our pairs data export from Glaver for 1 story. So I can have everything in there and just solve for 1 story. And more data is usually helpful. Now, sometimes, it's challenging. But I'm trying to make it challenging for you. And actually, I failed. I tried to make it challenging earlier and it didn't work. So we had 38 properties. I didn't put any age descriptions in here. You guys know, and you Vegas people should know. If you're not, this is a master plan. There's not a whole lot of huge age swings in this area. So it's not a factor, and it's going to get measured out anyways. Just to give you an idea, here's our hypothetical. V-Good cost class. You're semi-custom. These were on quarter acres. They're, this one you can tell. Nice property. So, anyways, nonetheless, 38 records. So there's your context. Now I'm going to bring back up pairs, and we're going to go ahead and get into this. Now 38 records. 38 records. Big 1 stories. I get $470,000. We're dealing with some, master plan. That's not a lot of data. It's not going to give you a lot of comfort usually. You know what? I'll just put That's not usually going to give you a lot of confidence when you have limited sales, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. I mean, there are some people in parts of the country where they have no choice, guys. I mean, us Vegas people and you people on here that I see, a couple people from Phoenix, you don't have any idea. We're living the land of tract home. You know, wonderful. Because boy, when you get lots of data, life is so much easier. So you guys should have known what I did right there. I just put in a file number. It's a single family home, and I put in my effective date of the 8th. I'm going to go to my data change portion. I'm going to upload my data file. And this is important. I want you guys to really pay attention to this, because we can't spend all the time. We'd actually be information overload if we showed you all the features that Pairs has at once and you try to digest it. It's just one of those things where you kind of just have to start riding a bicycle and figure out all the things that you've got at your disposal. Okay, now look, so let's go to the stats tab. 38 records. 38. Now, you know that's what we had, 38. Got your context down. Now, you Vegas people will know I just mapped out this area. You know the guard gated area I'm talking about, you that, because you know there's a custom area here in that boundary. Yeah, and guard gated popped up. These are custom homes. Now, I'm tract home. Be good construction. Don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing it to a custom home. I'm not a fool. I mean, if you have to do that, boy, you better be penciling off, sharpening your pencil on some cost estimates or something like that, because that's kind of a different environment. So, guard gated. Yeah, we got one property in there. So that means and look at it, $750,000. So I picked up a single story in there. Now it measured the location. You know, 200 grand for the guard gate. That might not be unreasonable, but it's still underlying. You know, the underlying issue is still a custom home. So you know what? We're 38 records. One's not going to kill me if I don't have it. So you know what? Let's go to submarket filter. Hold on, I'll do that. So, wait, excuse me. See, the first thing we're supposed to do, we're not supposed to pay attention to none of this yet. First thing we're supposed to do is go to the market rate change. That's the first thing you always do, because you don't want to even look at, remember, it starts off nothing. You need to tell the platform, do I need to apply a market rate, which could make a significant difference in your adjustment values. Because we do adjust the sales from the contract dates to the effective date of your report based on what information you tell it. Now, we make it easy for you. There's your annual rate on a price per square foot, which is much more reliable than sale price per square foot. We make it easy on you. If you like that number, you can just click apply. You have different options, minimums, max, average, try-mean. But in this case, and of course unadjusted days, let's say, for example, you agree it's been going up or down, but maybe the last 4 months it's been stable. Well, you could put unadjusted days, 4 months, 4 times 30, 120 days, meaning don't touch anything contracted within the prior 120 days of the effective date of this report or this analysis. But let's step back. We had 9 on the tri-mean basis. I mean, it doesn't matter, even on the median. That's a technical trend line of 1.32%. Technical. But if you take that, burn that out of your mind, I mean, come and look at these candles. That's bone stable. I'm not applying a market rate on that. But it's first thing you want to check. You got different options, different periods. You want to go the last quarter. Yeah, look at that, annualized. See, just because it's a technical trend doesn't mean that it's, what you hang your hat on. You need to look at the data. Half a year, gone up 35%. But come on, back to the year. You want to look at it in different formats. You want to take out distress sales. You want to weight it. We have a weighted standard, which is the most prudent way to do it. You can unweight it. Nonetheless, I'm canceling out of here because I'm not putting a rate in. It doesn't need one. But I don't want to deal with this guard gated custom either. So let's go to submarket change and go to guard gated. I'm going to select guard gated and I'm going to click no. So every property in that data set that's got guard gated as a feature, I'm taking it out of the analysis totally. Now I didn't remove that variable from my analysis model, so it's going to say no solution. Well, why does it say no solution? Because we just removed it. There's 0 now with a yes for guard gated. So we can get rid of it. No problem. So let's see what we're starting to look at here. Okay. So we got bathroom. Not too bad. Remember, we're in a VGood cost class. This is important too. Validating the credibility of adjustments. There's nothing wrong with you relying on multiple tools. There's multiple methods out there that are accepted as credible methods for adjustment support. One of which is not a dirty secret at all. It's accepted, the Institute, everybody. I mean, it's just a credible method. Is depreciated cost, because cost is a function of value. It's not the only function of value, but it is a function of value. Now, I can tell you right now that I love Craftsman. I mean, I love Craftsman for cost support stuff. I mean, Marshall and Swift, great. But I can tell you that in a very good cost class, residential, it's $2,475 a fixture. 4 fixtures and a full bath. My local multiplier of 1.04, my national multiplier. You get a total cost on a VGood construction quality for a bath at $11,840. Now, I depreciated this in my hypothetical appraisal, 15%. So if I multiply 11,840 times 0.85, 85% of that number, depreciating at 15%, you get $10,064. So this is certainly a little bit higher than that, but at the end of the day, on the lower side, I can see correlation with another credible method. I mean, depreciated cost is not too far off there. Now, this is elevated to me. I don't like that. I mean, that's first thing we're going to do is start I'm not worried about this yet, but let's start eyeballing the things that we don't like. Guest house. We're going to get to this. First thing is garage bay. Well, maybe we should get rid of this. I'm a tract home. We don't need anything in this area with a guest house. We got one record. Well, let's go back to that garage, though. It's acting goofy. That's too high. I mean, it's we're in an upper end area, but that's still a little bit elevated to me. So let's look at the stats tab on garage bay. We'll highlight garage bay and then we'll go to the stats tab. Okay, so look, we've got 2 properties with a 2-car garage, 34 with a 3-car, and we got 1 property with a 7-car garage. Now, I'm in a tract environment situation. There's no way that there's a 7-car garage in a tract setting over there. Either this house does not fit the bill normally, something's going on, but it's going to create noise, and it might be creating noise in that garage bay field. So you know what? Let's go back to submarket filter. Let's add a variable garage bay. And I'm going to put in a range between 2 and 3 car. Because remember, everything was 2 or 3 car except for that one lonely 7-car garage. And we'll go ahead and click save. Okay, didn't move the needle much on that. But now guest house says no solution. 0 with the guest house. So you know what? That means that the 7-car garage was the same property that had a guest house. So we're going to go ahead and kick this out. It's not going to solve. There's nothing in it. So we don't need it in our face. I mean, we just get rid of it. Okay, we still had that correlation there. These are standard defaults. I haven't even been playing around with these. But look, let's go into... I want to show you the price per square foot, sales price per square foot. Now, here's something that you can take from me, the Ninja Master. out of thousands of sets of data that we've run, if you're in a situation where livable area is the primary driver, and in most track situations, that's going to be the case, go ahead and make yourself a mental note, a post-it note, staple it on the wall somewhere that you heard it from me, and it's typically true. You're typically going to get a livable area adjustment, statistically supported, somewhere between 50 and 70% of the median price per square foot in your data set. So the median sale price per square foot in this data set is 157. This is based on thousands of sets of record. Now, if you're in San Francisco and you got a $5 million view of the bay, it might be different. But I'm saying in a typical tract environment, once in a while in the older modest areas, you might you dip your toes into the 40%. Sometimes in upper end areas, you may get up into the 80%, but typically tract environment 50 to 70%. So I know that going in, this is a typical environment to me. I mean, I'm looking at probably somewhere between $78.50 a square foot up to about 110. Anywhere from 50 to 70%. So I'm not gonna get upset if I start seeing those. Now I know as appraisers, have my adjustment patterns changed since I've been using pairs? Yes, absolutely. We didn't like going into this kind of price metrics unless you were doing something in Spanish Trail. In my neighborhood, that's actually, I'm sorry, people out of town don't know what that is. Guard gated golf course community with a ton of custom homes where casino magnates live. We didn't typically like applying that $100 though for tract homes. And I'm the biggest fan of appraisers, so I'm not here to beat on you. Trying to elevate the profession. Talk about this together. Work it out so that you can understand and see the light. So this number right off the jump with these standard defaults, which I could change this stuff, but to be honest with you, this was the data set Michael laughed at me and said, good Lord, can't you create something a little uglier and hack through it? I mean, I tried. I had 38 records in a challenging situation, and the program's just so good. I don't know. Anyways, look at that, $82 to $117. I just told you 50 to 70% is $78.50 to $110. So I know that's in the right lane. $4 to $6 a square foot for dirt, $5, $5.50 a square foot in Green Valley Ranch, completely reasonable. Pool, anywhere from $17.5 to $24.8. Okay, I'm on board. $850 to $1,200 something a year for age. Good. Gated. I don't have a gated issue. We're not gated. I don't have a gated. Now, what you want to do sometimes, guys, when you're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 variables we're solving for with 36 records because we filtered out 2. 36. Now that's 4 properties for every variable. Now, if you guys know anything about regression, typically most regression platforms want 15 to 20 representations per variable. So under normal circumstances, your typical regression program is going to want you to have 135 to 190 sale or 180 sales. We're going to show you that we can do it with 36. Different method. We're not regression, so that's the difference. But you still want to be cognizant of primary variables. If I was doing this appraisal, I wouldn't have this issue. So these are primary. It's not bothering me, but this is bothering me. So there might be correlation there. So everything is great. I'm fine with everything except for this. I think that's high. So I'm going to get this out of the way right now. I don't want it in there. I want to see what it does, first of all, to the rest of my model. First of all, you can see it didn't change much of nothing. It puffed that up a little bit. which is interesting to me. These stayed in the lane. Lot size came down a little bit. I'm not upset. You know what? Let's change our, you know what? I've been on a kick. Trim 2.5 is our standard filter in my default anyways. That trims 2.5% of the values of the distribution on the low side and the high side. It's a statistical filter, been used forever, but you got some other options. Now, when you get into smaller data sets, once in a while, standard deviations is the way to go, 2 or 3. And I've been on a standard deviations kick lately. So I'm going to keep this alone and hope that maybe a different filter will tame this garage. I'm not really liking that garage. So right now, before I start cutting, slicing, and dicing too hard, which I can't, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to change that filter. Okay, so now that brought my lot size back up to where I think it is. $5 in Green Valley Ranch would be good. That brought our pool back almost to the same we had with a different filter. Our age went down slightly, but still not bad. There's not a big age spread over there. Let's look at that. I think that one might have got kicked out already. I'm not sure. It says it's in there. But it's getting measured out nonetheless. $500 a year, I'll take it. I don't think I'm going to have an age adjustment because everything that I have is within 3 or 4 years in the 1999 range, so I'm not worried about that. This is still good in the driver's lane. Bathroom, awesome. I can deal with it. We had $10,000 on a depreciated cost, so I'm not worried. Even $12,000, I'm fine. It's reasonable. But I don't like this. So now this is what I'm talking to you guys about. This is why I wanted to show you this one. I see tons of models that could mirror this all day long from you guys. And I sit there and smile and I go, oh man, that's awesome, that's awesome, that's awesome. These short sales and REOs, I don't care if you don't use them. I don't use them. You want this in your data. If it's in your data set, you want to measure that out. Why? Because you get that stupid CU RoboComputer, kicks out some stips saying, why didn't you use these two comps? And one of them's an REO or short sale. You can say, well, for goodness sakes, I can show you why. Statistically, they're lagging the market, Arms Lake market, by 46, 47 grand. You want me to use it and throw on a heavy adjustment of 50 grand? So that's your, that's your defense for when that dumb computer starts coming at you. So, but anyways, I could see models of you guys. It could be almost identical to this. And I look at, and I say, okay, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board. And then I go, uh-oh, what happened here? That doesn't seem right. I don't like that. I want to show you what you can do. Now here, let's just imagine this is regression. There's your numbers, period. Oh, not with pairs. We're not regression. What's the first thing we can do? Well, right now we got it on Solve Fully. Remember I told you the gold standard paired sales analysis married with the iterative method. Iterative method, typically a refinement tool. I want you to look. This solved in GarageBay, 4th generation with 46 pairs. Look at the solution strategy drop-down box, though. Look at this solve once. Now, it talks about the solution strategies in that knowledge base article that I want you to read. Because solve once, now listen, we don't allow you to rely on one pair. That's not statistics. That's simple math. So we don't have any fancy algorithms in the platform, but we do have rule sets. We won't allow you to rely on 1 or 2 pairs. That's just not statistics. That's math. So we do have some simple rules that you have to meet a certain amount of threshold of pairs before we'll calculate a central point of value out of that data in order to say, okay, we'll go forward in the priming round with this number. Now, so the first time it solves, in the next generation, it takes out all the other calculations, and we start that off the next round with that adjustment as a priming adjustment, just like algebra. If you solve for x, then you can plug it back in, solve for y. That's all it is. Very simple. So it continually keeps solving, though, addressing tolerances, solving for that variable. So if you want to, sometimes this is the iterative method. This is the full going through the process, refining it. Maybe there's some error in our data. Let's try solve once. Now, if you solve once on this variable, it's still statistically built into every other variable the right way. We're not just, taking this out of the equation. But here's option one. Model's great. Don't like this one. Option one, go commando, solve once, update, see what happens. Boom, 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 boom. Now, what happened? Well, first of all, we know that our bathroom, we got a depreciated cost at 85%. That's $10,000. I mean, that's totally supporting that number. We brought this down to $13,800, or $13,008. Now, I'm statistically supported anywhere between these goalposts. I could get on board with a $13,500 garage bay and a $470,000 price matrix for a 2,900 square foot house. I mean, you add up three. I got a 3-car garage. Let's say 13.5 times 3. What do we got? 40,500. Is that right? I'm sorry. I'll use the calculator. I'm a $470,000. That's less than 10% contributory for the garage bays. That's not all of them together, all three. I'm not saying one garage bay. I mean, put your garage bay at like 3% per garage bay. So that's not bothering me. But look at this. I mean, livable area stayed in line. Lot size stayed in line. Pool. So, again, here's an example of I see someone's beautiful model and I go, gosh, I see everything is awesome and I see one hangnail sitting there and I do it, I run it and I solve it myself and I go, I almost want to pick up the phone and call somebody and call them and tell them, I wish you would have taken an extra step. Because remember, here's somebody's model that I'm looking at. I like everything. I ain't buying on that. That one's sticking out like a sore thumb. Look, that quick. Boom. Just test it. Test your model. Solve once. Now, sometimes you'll do that and it'll go to 40,000 instead of 20 or instead of 13. So it doesn't always work. But that's one method. Oh, by the way, guys, this adjustment is per garage bay. Garage bays, that means per. So a 2-car to a 3-car, you'd have an adjustment of, let's say on the low side, 13,500, if you don't want to use a goofy number. Or the estimate, you could say 15,000 per garage bay. So you'd add 15,000 to a 2-car to equal to a 3-car. So that's a per garage bay adjustment. That's not all three of them. I don't want anybody getting confused. But that was option number one. Now look at that. It just took us a drop-down box. And we got that in line, and we didn't change hardly any of the model. Look, let's go back. So 11.2, I like the low. I'm hanging on the low side because, these are already high. I'm good there, but let's solve it fully again and see the impact. I don't think it made a difference at all. It didn't. Now, why is that? 98, 4, 23, 10. 98, 97. Oh, so it was very slight. Uh-oh, I just did the wrong one. Solve. I didn't want to mess with bathroom. Bathroom was fine. Let me get back to that garage bay. 98, 4, 7, 23. It didn't change it at all. So what that was telling us is, remember, it solved in the 4th generation before. The first time it actually solved was in the 3rd generation. So because the priming adjustment for this round went into all the other numbers, it is not going to impact the other variables at all in the final round of solving. So that's the point. It was one click and you had perfect model instead of one variable that was hard to defend. Now that's one option. Let's go back to solve fully on it. I love Craftsman, but today I'm going to use Marshall and Swift because we're going to get hardcore. Now, these are things you can do. Options, depreciated cost, credible method. Nobody's ever built depreciated cost into a statistical model until us, and you have that power. So I want to show you. Let's say hypothetically we did solve once on this and we were still just way too high for our being. We started playing with tolerances. It didn't, these were just, it was a sore thing. But we didn't want to get rid of it as a variable because when we remove it, I don't know, let's try. Oh my goodness, I try to play tricks on myself and I even fail. Never mind, everything still looks good. I can't win. I just, the program's that good, guys. I'm sorry. Oh man, I don't know how this is possible, but that's fine. Let's just say hypothetically that we solved once and solved fully and these numbers were goofy. Let's say instead of solve once it went down to 13 grand. Let's say it went up to 40. So what's another option you can have now? You want this in your model. Let's say you got a garage adjustment and by goodness you need to make an adjustment. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, like regression, just kick the variable. Everything else is accounted for. Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense when you throw two properties on the grid and they're identical in everything except one had the 3-car garage option, but you didn't get a credible number, so you're supposed to kick the variable. And then you explain to the underwriter that 2-car garage identical house is equal to the one with the 3-car garage. It doesn't pass a smell test. As an appraiser, you know there's an intrinsic value to that item. The question is, what's the most appropriate method that you can get a credible value for it on? Can you measure it out statistically in a model situation like pairs? Can you measure it out statistically in a grouping basis? Can you measure it out statistically with regression? Can you measure it out credibly with depreciated cost? Now that bathroom is the easiest one in the world. Now you're going to find out when you're running models, that bathroom is, that is one of the variables that is just very ultra sensitive to noise. I'll tell you why it is. Because of the low numeric value in the field. If you have 1, 2, 3.5, 4, those are very small numbers for a variable. So anytime there's any kind of noise in a data set, typically the lower numeric values are going to pick up that stuff. Happens in garage bays, same situation. When you get a lot size of 11,000 square feet, that is a numeric value of 11,000 units. That's going to be less sensitive than a smaller bathroom. But this is a gimme. If you guys have a hard time with bathroom and you don't want to spend a lot of time chewing around with the modeling, all you got to do is make a comment in your addendum where you got your depreciated cost. Solve for that. Put in the number depreciated cost based on your subject property. Put adjust only and call it a day. Build in the credible number from your cost. Round it to the nearest 500 or 1,000. But what was the other thing that we could do? Depreciated cost. So I'll do Marshall and Swift today. If I take V, good quality, finished, times my local multiplier 1.04, times my national multiplier 1.14, $53.50 a square foot. A 600 square foot, 3-car, 200 square bay, typical. That's $10,700. Again, we depreciated the rest of the improvements 15%. I'll multiply that times 0.85. That'll give me 85% of the cost. So that's $9,095 for a garage bay on depreciated cost. Now, if you're an appraiser, remember we're in a very good cost class. We're not custom, but we're in a very good. $9,000 is not out of the ballpark at all. So you know what? Let's enter it. Depreciated cost for this. Now all I got to do is take the extra step and tell the underwriter where I got that number, but I'm building it into a statistical model. I'm not just putting this number up here. No. Every time it encounters that variable in this data set, it accounts for it at what I solved from another credible method, depreciated cost. So let's update it and see what happens. So, age, pretty much unaffected. These, pretty much unaffected. This, pretty much unaffected. That, still within that range where we were at before. That, certainly within that range. Bathroom, the only one other than bath, or than garage. We had 9,200. We had a depreciated cost support at 10,000. I have no problem at all saying 10,500 for a bath because I got statistical support for it. But I just solved for that garage in two different ways, in pairs. Whereas in regression, you get that bad number, you got to kick the variable, you're stuck with it. So let's talk about options. That's what we're doing here. The power. I can solve for it this way, build it into my whole model. Or I could have just taken that one easy step and dropped down the strategy from solve fully on that one variable to solve once. And I still could have lived with a $13,500. Maybe, is it 30% higher than depreciated cost? Yeah, but you can make the case. It's still reasonable. Demand, utility, cost is a function of value, but it's not the only function of value. Sometimes demand and utility play a factor, and there might be a premium. But you can rely on depreciated costs as a credible method in the absence of other methods that don't deliver credible results. And the beautiful thing is with pairs, you can build that into the model. So we're happy here either way. I mean, you know what? I'm going to do the depreciated cost for the garage bay. Because I like 9,000, that's fine. Everything else is golden. We're going to go to our define adjustments page, the precursor page. We put the stamp on a validation page worthy of inclusion in a report, a professional appraiser's validation page. No ambiguity. This is your precursor page. This shows you the range. Anywhere in between the low and the high, you have statistical support. Now it's your time to get rounding. Of course, you're not going to do $100.82. I'm going to lean low. I'm going to do 85. 9,000 we solved for garage bay. I'm going to go on the low side for dirt. I'm going to do 5. I got statistical support. I'll do a nice 25,000 unicorn for a pool. You know what? I'm going to leave those untouched just so I look like a genius. I mean, you imagine when the underwriter sees validation report says $43,664.14 for an REO. They're going to back away from the table and say, oh boy, I got the rocket scientist that did my appraisal. Look at this. Sometimes I do that just to mess with them. I'll do $750 a year for age. And I'm going to keep my foot off the gas on that bathroom. I'm going to go on the low side. Now remember, in this situation, I would have done the depreciated cost on the garage bay. And you see that it turned green. There's no histogram when you supply a number. And there's a comment here that says manual adjustments. This analysis includes one or more variables for which the appraiser specified exact values. These values have been found to be credible in the market using other methods. All I got to do is a little blurb. That statistical analysis of the garage bay was not rendering a credible result. Depreciated cost was the most credible method. The number per price per square foot on what cost class, the finish, my multipliers, how much I depreciated it, and I rounded it to 9,000. And I built it into my statistical model. For goodness sakes, that it just doesn't get any better. And your end user, I screenshot this. Whoa, I think I hit that too many times. Yeah, I did. Darn it. What? Maybe I refresh it. There you go. But I'm going to capture the selection. It's just easy with that Fireshot screenshot tool. I'm going to drag it down to the bottom. Might have to let it do its business, and I'm going to copy it. Copy as an image. I'm dropping this in my report, guys. There's no ambiguity. There's no range, low or high. This says $85 a square foot for livable area. This has all my effective date, analysis date, number of property records, all the information, the roadmap to my model. It's your model, your rules, your results. The most powerful thing out there, nobody can argue with you. See you, RoboComputer, you're flipping the bird to the man right here. There's the bird. There's nothing they can do. That's an automated model, and they know it's subject to failures and false positives. This is driven by you, a professional. Validated by you, a professional. We'll get into that. How do I know Fannie Mae knows that? Let's look at their latest FAQ guide for lenders. CU is effectively predictive of appraisal defects, but there are false positives. Well-informed human judgment should take precedence over automated results. That's the clarion call, guys, for you guys. They're telling you, you do an analysis model, a game, set, match. They don't even want to get into the argument. And all I'm going to do here is source where I got this. But look, $85 for livable area based on 616 pairs. 1,616 paired sales. Now, I know a lot of people ask me, wait a second, we had a submarket filter down to 36 properties. How did you get 616 paired sales? We only had 36 properties. Again, the iterative method. There's no oversampling here. Sometimes that's a hard thing if you're not a statistics person to understand. But I want you to visually line up every property. If you could compare every one to each other. 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 36. Then you've got 2 to 3, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, 2 to 36. 3 to 4, 3 to 5, 4 to 5. All that. So the equation is actually 36 times 36 minus 1, which is 35, divided by 2. So believe it or not, there's a total potential paired sales that you can solve for something of 630. And livable area solved at 616. So pretty much every piece of data that was possible, it solved for. But who's going to argue? $5 a square foot, 424 paired sales. Validated. Now, if you put in a number that's not in those goalposts of low and high, you're going to get a red box. And a big nasty comment down here that says unsupported adjustment. We got to be fair too. We built an awesome tool that gives you an RPG and a knife fight. But you don't have to cheat. And if you start cheating, this ain't the program for you, because you won't get a validated stamp and you'll get red. Red means no, green means go. Green is okay. So I'm also going to, that web page screenshot tool, I'm going to capture the entire page. I'm going to save a PDF to my work file. Now this is what I'm giving my end user. I'm putting this in my report. Now here's what I'm putting in my work file report. Now I'm not giving this to the end user. I'm not showing them the range of low and high and all the statistical data points so that they can say, oh, you know what? If you would have adjusted $100 a square foot instead of 85, you'd have gave me an extra $4,000 on my refi. I'd have done that if it made the comparables, the adjusted values of the comparables more optimal. I'd have done that anyway. So I don't need to give anybody ammunition. I don't need to give you the knife to get into the fight with me. And that's silly. But this is your work file for the, God forbid, if state comes calling or litigation. And you can explain it. The pairs method doc, paired sales analysis and iterative method, which is a fancy way of using algebra. Get on the stand with somebody and let them try to explain regression. You try to explain regression and sound competent. Where I can get every jury of my peers, I can get a jury of people with the 9th grade education to understand algebra, and I can explain this method on the stand a whole lot easier than regression, especially if I write out the equation for you and scare you. So boom, there's the first one that I wanted to get out of the way. I wanted to show you because I see so many of you guys doing awesome models. And some of them are perfect all the way around. Don't get me wrong. But I see some that I sit there and I go, they stopped a little too quick. And I don't know if it's that they stopped or if they didn't realize the other options. That's why I wanted to walk through that one. And this next one is another. Now this next one, so we're not going to work our brain off too hard. Now that one was supposed to be challenging. I can't help it if the program's good. Honestly, 36 sales we saw for 8 variables. That's silly. That's really, you don't hardly ever do that. I mean, it's not a very highly correlated set of data. I don't know. Anyways, this next one, though, is a topic that I have a friend here in town, Good friend of mine. He'll remain nameless. It's him. You can notice that. But I do a lot of FHA work, and I don't know what your climate is in your part of the country, but interest rates are low. Market's been heating up a little bit, and so what happens? We got every builder, in the country again is boy, they're throwing up sticks. We're building houses again. So I'm doing a lot of new construction FHAs, as well as existing FHAs, believe it or not. And I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, and I want you guys to know. Now, I don't know how your HOC, your Hawk, handles it, but I know Santa Ana. If you're in the Santa Ana Hawk, with which you Vegas peeps are, FHA is seriously scrutinizing concessions. Now, I'm not saying that you have to make an adjustment for concessions, but you better be seriously cognizant of the fact if you load up 4 or 5 sales, 3, 4, 5 sales, and every one of them has a concession, you're probably going to get a nasty gram like my friend did. Now, they wanted him to show evidence that there was no adjustment necessary when he had 1 out of 4 sales that didn't have concessions, and believe it or not, it was slightly lower than the ones with concessions, which, on paper was making their case all day long. So he ended up getting 35 or 40 hours of continuing education within a 60-day window, or they were going to boot him off the panel. And we're not talking about a fly-by-night appraiser here. We're talking about a person that's been in the game a long time. So, since I've been doing a lot of work, FHA, especially new construction, I don't know if you guys know this, but every builder in town seems to be throwing heavy on the concessions, and it's a big problem. I know FHA is looking, so I'm going to show you how you can do the concession, and you got some options again with that. So let's say hypothetical, let me just load up the data first, and then I'll give you the context. And the date I did this one again was the 8th. And I'm going to load up the data. Now this is a big data file. So I'm going to show you the context here in a second. But it's something I want you guys to be cognizant of. Listen, I'm a fan of appraisers. So if I see little nuanced things that you might work, I have an office. I only have 5 appraisers under me anymore that I used to have, back in the heyday. The benefit of an office environment a lot of times is we can water cooler. We stay up to date. We talk about items. So if I see a topic that, is becoming an issue, I'm going to tell you, because you might be someone that works out of your house, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, you might not run across the same data source that I might pick up, so don't be offended if I bring it up. Just give you the context. So I'm a new construction property for you Vegas people. Hypothetically, we're doing a new construction. It's right here. It's Pardee, El Dorado. They still have some vacant land out there, so they're building again. And, mother loving heck, if every, we're $240,000 price range for, how big was the property? I'll tell you, 2,200 square foot, 240s. And they're loading up heavy. I mean, there's $7,000, $8,000 in concessions. New construction, right from the builder. Almost every one. I couldn't find one that didn't have a concession from that builder. Now, I did find 2 new constructions from outside builder in MLS that didn't have concessions, which was key. I need those. So I went ahead and defined my area. Now, you can define your area. Now, I define my area. Believe it or not, I use this for my 1004MC to test a ton of data. I did use it because I know this area. You Vegas people know this area flows. El Dorado, there's feeder streets. It's all the same tract environment. I mean, if you want to cut yourself a little area for your 1004MC, that's fine. But if you want to do a statistical analysis on a market environment, that's all the same. I mean, I could have gone further over here probably. I could have swung my baby further there, but this is fine to me. So I'm single family home. I just want to show you the sales data again so that we can match it up. Now, I know I'm going to have a ton of data, so I don't need to include one stories. I'm a two-story. Let's leave it at that. And I was about 2,200 something square foot, so I think I did plus or minus 25%. 1672 to 2077. Now, I did one other thing because I'm new construction. Because I'm new construction, almost like, a new car, that new car smell. I mean, the closer you are to new construction, you start to really depreciate rapidly at first, just like driving a car off the lot. So I did put in 2000 and above for year built. I didn't need any of that stuff in the 90s or late 80s. So you can see I got 269 sales within a year. Now, let's go to the stats. 300. That's a big difference. Huh. That's interesting. Well, it was a week and a half ago. Let's say, I guess it's not unheard of that 10% fell out. I don't know the difference. Or did I put two-story and, tri-level? Not worried about it. Doesn't matter. That was my market area, and that was the data that I pulled up. So, remember, I'm doing this FHA. I've got everything. First of all, the new construction is higher than everything. It always is. It's always been one of those piece of corn in your teeth that how much is that new construction? What is it attributed to? It can't be all condition. There's also personal preference in there, picking out your own tile color, granite, whatever. Nonetheless, I mean, new construction is a variable in our MLS, so it pops up as a variable. And it says that the average new construction property is leading the existing properties by $35,000. Now, that to me is my C1 to C3 adjustment. Because that's the measurement for the only thing that we can really attribute it to. Personal preference, you can't put that on the grid, would be condition. Because this is C1. Now, I'd be very careful applying that to a house that was 1 year old, resale, flip, or something that they just bought it and they're going to sell it. Because that is actually maybe, should mitigate that down. But that to me is my new construction C1 to C3. But remember, I've got to deal. First thing we do, market rate change. We got to go there. Now, annual rate, negative 0.5% or negative 0.59. First of all, I'm calling that stable. That's fine. But what I do see is there's an error in the data here from the MLS. Look at that. So it says that there's a sale in here from May of 2016. And last I checked, we're in 2015. So there's an error in the data. And if you can't get that part of the data right, I probably don't want to look at look at the record at all. Yeah, I'm going to go into that sub-market change rate. I'm not going to apply a market rate, that's for sure. It looked bone straight. I'm just checking the stats on this. We're in Northtown. That's not that bad. It's not bothering me that bad. I just want to look at the stats. Huh. Okay, I'm good. But I want to get out. Remember, there's a wrong record here. And if you're wrong on that part of the easy deal, you've probably messed something else up, and I don't want to deal with your bad data. So I'm going to go into sale date, and I'm going to filter that thing out. Oop. excuse me, 2014. 5. I got this weird. Wait, we're gonna do something on that. We're gonna do that. Michael's laughing in the other room because he knows I hate that date format. If you want to filter by date, I don't like that. But we'll get to that. But anyways, I took that out. Now I'll go back there and show you that it's going to be gone. I took it out. I didn't have to take it out. Everything else looked fine. But if you mess up something as basic as a sale date by a year, I mean, that's almost like a test of. And again, this is showing a rate now, but I'm just not getting on board that that's increasing, because if you take this heavy candle out of the mix, I see a lot of balance here. I'm not applying a rate. I'm just not doing it. You can do whatever you want. Your model, your rules, your results. You own it. So right out of the gate, now, new construction market. The newer the house is, the more sensitive it is to age. Just like driving a car off the lot, depreciates 30% or 20%. You drive it right back in and want to trade it in or sell it, and they'll give you 80% of what you just paid. So in my modeling, my tolerance is at 4 years standard. In a new construction environment, I'm going to back that down to 2. Why? Because I think that if you start opening that up too much, you're going to bring in different properties for the purpose of pairing up different things, that the age might be a factor built into those pricing differences. So it might scatter the excess value that's really attributed to age into other stuff. And this is typically your efficiency lot standard default tolerance, 500. I mean, we looked at it. I usually don't adjust under 1,000 unless I'm in an efficiency market. If I got a 2,600 square foot lot, those cul-de-sac homes, and the guy that's got the 3,485, and you're like, oh, it's within 1,000 square feet, but yeah, he's got a backyard, he's got a side yard. I mean, that's a big deal. They charge that guy an $8,000 premium for that 800 square feet. I make an adjustment there. In this market, I think I had a 4,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot lot. Probably not going to make an adjustment for under 1,000. So I'm just going to mess with that just a little. And I'm going to update it. Now, that's our standard default of the tolerance for livable area, 2%. I'm not going to mess with that yet. Let's just update it and see what happens. And remember, there's a lot of data in here, so there's literally millions of calculations going on. So when you get a larger set of data, it sometimes takes a little bit longer for it to populate. Don't keep re-clicking, just give it a second and then it'll pop up. But like right off the bat, I'm seeing some things in North Las Vegas for you peeps out here. You know. Let's go get you some context for you people out of town. Let's go to sales price per square foot. Let's just review the data. The median sales price right about the middle. We're in an $85 a square foot data set. $85. So our rule of thumb on livable area, typically we're expecting to see somewhere between $42.50 a square foot to $59.50. So 42, 43 to $60. That's what we're expecting. Look at that. Thousands of sets of data, guys. I don't make it up. I just want you to know. I'm just telling you. When I see a pattern in data, especially data that we do from all over the country, not just here. But this is not happening in an $85 a square foot new construction market. In Northtown. This is not happening in Northtown for a bath. And not in a fair to average fair. And I mean fair, we're talking, it's Pardee home, but we're talking the lower land Pardee, your basic KB type of a house. Not Toll Brother. I'm not dogging that type of a house. There's nothing wrong with those houses at all. Matter of fact, KB has some upper end products. But I'm saying this is more of the housing for the masses types, the cheaper product. That's not happening. That's not happening. Gated almost looks like it's not even a factor. So you know what? I'm taking that out of the mix right now. We're gonna have to get nasty because these I got two variables, and I'm not gonna immediately go commando and start solving for bathroom because I got so much data in here. I can get statistical data. I don't need to play around yet. Now I'm not afraid to do it. Ooh, but before I even start playing around, what was the main purpose of me showing you this analysis? Remember, I'm doing a hypothetical appraisal for FHA. Every sale I got from the builder has $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 in concessions. Add a variable. Look at this. Add a variable. Scroll down. Concessions amount. Now, we've mapped in Glaver the concessions field. So you can add that as a variable. Now, important for you to know, when you get a result back, remember this. It's based on a dollar amount per dollar of the concession. So it's based on the dollar amount. So if you get a result that says 0.80, for example, that means that statistically the concessions are impacting impacted at 80 cents on the dollar. So you get someone pays $5,000 in concessions, you make a $4,000 adjustment, 80% of the $4,000. So just I wanted you to remember that. But there's concessions. I mean, here let's go to the stats tab. We've got 156 records out of the 299 with no concessions. We got to look at this. A bunch of these silly people that put in $1, $7. Oh, excuse me. No, this is the number of records. Here's the number. Somebody put in $2, $3, $4. This is crazy. But look at this. So you start getting to see the concessions though from my builder. 8,890, 6,890. I mean, and yeah, I'm on the higher price. So it's making you really question, is that making a difference in the pricing? HUD, I know, is on the hunt for concessions. So I'm going to show them. By God, I'm going to solve for it statistically, blow their head back because they're going to say, I can't argue with the guy. Look, or gal, doesn't matter who you are. I'm giving you the tools. So, but the first thing before we start messing around, we got to add in concessions. That could change the balance of all this stuff that we're looking at. Can't even look at it if it's a key thing that we have to solve for. We have to add it in the model before we even start tweaking. I should have done that before I started changing tolerances, to be quite honest with you, but I got ahead of myself. So forgive me. Okay. All right. Oh, boy, look at that. I go from a low of 81, but look at that. 98.91 cents. Almost $1 on the money. I can statistically show evidence under this rule set, which I'm not done here. I might change this because I still think that's too high. And I'm not in love with this. It's a little bit elevated. But just for the 30,666 pairs to measure out this concession number. Now, I don't even think there's anybody at HUD that would want to step up and knuckle up and argue the point if I showed them this, which I'm going to show them. I'm putting it in my appraisal. But my model's not done yet, so this number is subject to change. Why? Because, I'm going to change the rules. I'm going to change the model rules because I don't like this variable. It's not credible. This one's fine. This one's fine. These are fine. These are fine. But this is not credible and this is not credible. Remember, you can't leave non-credible in your model. If you leave it in your model, you're decaying the confidence of the entire model. Because it's interrelated. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to livable area because I got a ton of data. I'm going to actually back down the tolerance. You don't have to go higher. I could put in 50 instead of a percentage sign. That'll say 50 square feet. I could put in 100. If I do that, I'm telling the platform 100 square feet. You don't always have to go up, though. Sometimes test your model. Let's try to go 1%. Okay, now remember, we just backed down. We changed the model rules because we're not happy. Now look, we got this number going good. My concessions now is even more than $1, and that bathroom, which I've told you, I'm not even worried about this model. I mean, trust me. Listen, if I wanted to go commando, I could end it right now. I mean, if I really wanted to. But I like to play, and I like to find total statistical support in the model if I can, without having to. And that's just me. I mean, I could solve this right now. I could do it. I could do a cost. It's new construction on average construction quality. I could even back this down to 4,000 and do fair construction quality, or 5,000, and nobody'd raise an eyebrow with me with multipliers. I can handle it right now probably. If I do that, let's see what the rest of my model results are at. Okay. Look at that. We got that unicorn $5,000 garage bay. Concession's a little high. Over $1. I got a low of $1. $1.01. I can't call it $1. That's so funny. Well, I could really go. No, I'm just showing you that I could have solved this problem just quick. I got my $5,000 garage bay. I've got everything going good. I'm fine, but I'm not going to do it that way. Just wanted to show you that you don't have to play around if you're in a rush. By goodness. You know what? Let's try something else. Let's update. Let's update the model, put it back to normal, because we're not going to go commando. You don't have to all the time. Sometimes it's good to test your model a few minutes. Give it a chance for you to isolate or restrict errors in the data, find your sweet spot. I don't know. I enjoy it. But that bathroom definitely is a problem. So let's first start off the bat. I told you I'm on a standard deviations kick as a filter. I don't know why. But sometimes it makes a difference. I mean, they're both trim, standard deviations. They're statistical filters, so I'm not worried about it. Standard deviations, you don't get as pretty of a histogram. Typically, you get a tighter variance in your model. Let's say that. But that doesn't mean I use trim all the time too, so don't worry. Okay, so what's our option? What's the first thing we do? I like everything. Look, I got 7,500 garage. I can live with that. My livable area's right there. I got $1 for dirt out in Northtown, which they say you can never support. Yes, you can, statistically. That's a big premium, guys. But you know what? I got 2 new constructions from a builder outside of my builder, so I don't even need to use existing. But I can tell you right now, my $240,000 house, brand new, if you buy an 8-year-old one, you can get it for $190. So add $40,000 on there and then hit it for age. That makes sense. There's correlation. $27,000 for a pool. It's not killing me. But this bathroom, just don't like it. That's double. This is a new house. That's double. So the first thing we're going to do, come on. Solve once. Test it. Test it. Sometimes you're gonna reach up for the heavens and thank me that I showed you. Just test it. It takes a second. But sometimes the clouds part, the sun comes down on your face, and you go, oh, hallelujah, because look what's going to happen. Boom. Boom. Look at that. Everything's beautiful. It's perfect. We just took that. Now, here's regression. You would have been stuck with that $12,000 bathroom, and you've been saying to yourself, you know what? That is just in an $85 a square foot neighborhood in Northtown. I'm not giving you $12,000 for a bath, but regression would have told you, well, it's significant, it's got a confidence factor, and by God, it's $12,000. Now, Pears gave you $10,000, $11,000, and we didn't like it, and what we do, we just changed the strategy. And the rest of the model is impacted by that still. Everything's statistically done the right way. Trust me, we're not there. You don't need to cheat. This doesn't cheat. But look at that. It was just that easy for you to try. Instead of going commando, which we could have done, we could have solved, adjusted only depreciated, or not even depreciated, cost. But like I said, if I can get statistical evidence without, hankering around, I don't want to write. You know what? I'm lazy. I'd rather spend 5 minutes on the video game than writing 2 paragraphs of where I got my data from my cost. I mean, to be honest with you, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to avoid writing as much as I have to. But look, all it was that simple. Again, perfect example. I see your guys' model. I like everything. Everything makes sense to me, but that bathroom at the first one, I say, no way. $85 a square foot, they gave up too early. They should have tried to tackle that one variable, because if somebody can get you in a legal situation and pick apart that bathroom and say it's not credible for that area, then guess what? They just cracked open the egg, and everything else is not credible either, because they're interrelated. You just quit too soon. Look. Now look at that concession, the one that was showing you this for HUD. Oh man, beautiful. I'm based on 28,000 pairs, 28,113 pairs. 0.5995, so 60 cents on the dollar for concessions. Meaning, let's say you've got a sale with $5,000 in concessions. I'm going to make an adjustment downward of 60 cents on the dollar, or negative 3,000. It impacted statistically. I can show evidence that a typical per dollar of concession is going to inflate the value of the price by 60 cents. Oh boy. Boy, I'm sending this up because I want somebody at the top of the HUD food chain to see that. Because they're going to sit there and say, well, I mean, that friend of mine, guys, basically said that this gaggle of pit bulls over there at FHA that he was on the phone with, was on the phone with about 5 of them. It was like a sock party. But he said they wouldn't put it in writing either, but he said the tenor of the conversation was pretty much you should adjust dollar for concessions, because their theory was it impacts the net. It does, but they can't say nothing at all. I got statistical support to show 60 cents on the dollar. Again, what could they can't say anything, because in order to argue with me or you with this validation page, guys, they have to have data that's better than yours, and you're the professional. What are they going to do? They're going to throw you that piece of garbage from that robo computer and say, well, this is what this computer said. Well, what's that computer's name? Do you even know how to run that computer? I bet you there's 3 people at Fannie Mae don't even know how to run CU. It's just because some PhD put something together doesn't mean that it doesn't know how to define a geographic market area like you do. It doesn't know how to define what's similar property types like you do. It doesn't know how to ferret out, hey, if CU's so good, why are some of the STIPs coming out distressed sales or foreclosures back to the bank? Not even a sale. I mean an actual the bank trustee's deed. You'll get a STIP from CU saying, why didn't you use this property? I mean, you don't have to fear the robo. You don't have to fear. You got all the tools right here. Like I said, RPG in a knife fight. We give you the tools. You just got to learn how to use it. And I got that $7,000 bath. I can live with that all day long. I'm locking that in, because HUD ain't going to see that range. HUD's going to see what I want. I'm the professional. I'm in charge. You're in charge. You are the professional. You get to be the professional again. Everybody stand up. Go ahead and take a bow for yourself. You get to be the professional again. We give you the tools to do that. They get to see. You really think anybody ever going to question? Holy smokes, 41,702 pairs went into that $40 supported adjustment for livable area? Nobody wants to dance with that. They know you got data. You got your model, your rules set, all the properties you analyze. You're not hiding nothing. Complete transparency in a statistical environment. And the main thing that we wanted to get across to HUD on this one is I'm going to use 3 sales from my builder. I'm putting 5 sales. 2 from, actually 1 outside builder sale, 1 listing. No, 2 builder sales and an outside builder listing. I think I had 7. Yeah, I had 7 total comps. 2 listings, 2 outside builders, and 3 inside. And every one of my ones in my builder had over $6,000 or $5,000 in closing costs paid. And I'm adjusting all three of those at 60 cents on the buck. And I got the exact number from the builder, how much they paid. And I'm adjusting 60 cents a square foot based on 28,113 pairs. And if HUD wants to argue with me, by God, show me the data. Show me the argument. They're not. Here's a statistical environment. Under my rules set, these numbers will be rendered every day, all day. Liberation. You want to sleep like a baby at night? You want to wake up in the morning and I don't even get phone calls from underwriters unless it's just stupid, dumb stuff like I colored outside the line on this or they didn't like that. Nobody even wants to mess around with adjustment support. I tell you more. Now, they might not like your comp selection. You got to use the best comps. You still got to do that. What it feels, copy that. Look at that. I'm pasting that in my report. Remember, it's a cart. Unfortunately, it's a cart and horse situation, guys. We have to start supplying this. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, you know what, I don't get paid enough. Here's the deal, though. We're going to have to show them stuff like this, and then it will lead to more fees. This will put a whole different veneer on the appraisal professionals' practice, their acumen, their level of professionalism and intelligence, the knowledge necessary in a statistical modeling environment. You know, between us, you can totally do this. It just takes a little bit of time. You don't have to. We're not building the, space shuttle to the moon. It's not that hard. But if we keep doing this, fees will go up. I don't know if you guys saw just this last week or two. There was an AMC called Lender Bend, which I laugh. These chumps. I don't work with them, so I don't know who they are. They might actually be a good account. I don't know. But somebody over there must have got fired because they put out a note to all of their vendors. I think they had 3, 4, 5,000 panel member. And that email said that as of May 21st, in addition to sending your completed appraisal through the system, you were going to have to attach a PDF that contained your entire work file. Entire. I'm not saying adjustment support. I'm saying the entire work file. Now, I laugh when I immediately saw that and I go, you know what? These people have no idea. First of all, it's not the right business climate situation for that. I'm turning down work. It's busy and all heck. So when people are busy and you start ruffling feathers like, you want me to show you everything in my work file? I mean, that's almost like you think I'm a thief, so I have to prove it to you up front. There's absolutely no due process situation of innocent till proven guilty. No, I think you're an idiot, so I want you to show it to me up front. But there was a huge groundswell. Every appraiser in the country there was a couple that said, well, I'll charge you $3,000. But for the most part, 99% of the people said, jump in a lake. They were sending them letters saying, as of May 20th, the day before that goes into effect, please remove me from your panel. So they now have backed off, and they've put out a thing that says it's not going to be a requirement. They did put a little blurb at the bottom, which I thought was entertaining. It said, we do reserve, however, the right to request a work file, which a client does have that right to request. I mean, trust me, it happens more than once. You're going to have a problem with somebody. But the point is, it was an overreach on their part, but the point that they're getting at is they don't even know what they're asking for. They're asking for some transparency. They don't want to comb through your whole work file. They want to comb through it to make sure that you did a credible analysis. Pairs fills that void. You can now communicate transparently to an end user and regulators that you performed a comprehensive statistical analysis. They don't care about your work file. You're showing them that I got evidence and support to prove, not prove. I got evidence and support of my opinion. I did a comprehensive statistical analysis. At that point in the game, they know you did the work. They don't want to see nothing else. They don't want to see your sketch. They don't want to see nothing else. The only reason those people were asking for the work file, I assure you, was to make sure they could cross-check, did you support this adjustment? So guess what? That's coming. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't need one. The next shoe to drop is somebody's going to say you have to include some kind of adjustment support in your appraisal. I don't care if it's Microsoft Excel. If you say that you do paired sales analysis, market extracted adjustments based on paired sales analysis, you can say that all you want. And if you do it, that's fine. And if you use Excel or GNU, what's that? Numeric, whatever spreadsheet program you do it, why don't you take, if you do it in a spreadsheet, good Lord, with technology, it's not like you can't screen grab it and put a copy of it in your extra map page in the report. If you're truly doing paired sales by hand, I'm totally fine. A regulator would accept it. Put it in the report. But we all know how difficult that is, how long that takes to sift through the data, categorize it, organize it, try to find which ones only vary by one thing or have a very modest difference between them. So if you're doing a Microsoft Excel, single line regression, I don't care. Put it in the report. If we do that, there's no more emperor wears no clothes. You're being transparent up front. Remember, I'm an appraiser first and foremost. That's why we made this page. That's why we made this page. I got reviewers from major AMCs that have signed up to use this. Now, I don't know how they get their data. Maybe they have MLS access. It's coming. The first shoe to drop is going to be the First National lender that says you're going to have to show support for your adjustments. So, you've got some options. Either get your Microsoft Excel spreadsheet class going and figure out how to handle all this data, or put your big girl and big boy pants on and jump into the pairs pool and be a rock star in real estate. Don't be average. Be extraordinary. Seriously. The kind of results that you can get for a platform like this, it's unmatched. There's nothing out there like this. There's nothing. Everything's regression. That's it. One trick pony. You can't scenario model in a regression platform. You can't insert a static number in a regression platform for a variable when everything's interrelated. You can get a similar basis of this program from IBM's SPSS if you want to pay $3,000 in longhand, about 4 hours of work before you do one analysis. We normalize your data. We've mapped all your data. We've gone through all the list fields. You want to use ABT or StatWing, and you have to figure out how to combine all of the golf course views into the same field. We do all that for you. You just have to add a variable. I mean, that's why our mapping is so extensive. We mapped everything. You know what? Good Lord. Before I get off here, let's go back. Let's go back into the analysis. Let's see what kind of funny stuff we could adjust for or look at. You want to test your model? It's at your fingertips with pairs. You don't have to go clean the data. You don't have to organize it. Make sure, by the way, since we're going to finish a little early, guys, if you have any questions, please send them to us. But let's go through this variable list. Look at this. You want to test to say, hey, you know what? Does it make a difference if you're in a neighborhood with a community pool versus one that doesn't? Add it in there. Community pool, for goodness sakes. Solar panels, all kinds of junk. Any variable in that MLS that we've mapped, you might not use 95% of it in your life or 98%, but by God, you have the ability. Now look at this. It might be completely reasonable if you think about it. For a modest income neighborhood, would someone with a family possibly pay an extra $2,500 because they lived in a neighborhood that had a community pool for their kids? That might be a completely credible, logical thing to say. And the great thing is it hardly impacted the rest of my variables. You can test anything you want. Nobody does this. No other regression program does this. That's the difference. So you guys look forward to seeing me on roundtable discussions with these other so-called people out in the adjustment space, because you know what? It's not even fair. I mean, unless you want to say that a bicycle is equivalent to a Ferrari because they both have wheels. Seriously. You don't need to cheat. You're in charge. Nobody can argue with you. You can liberate yourself, be the professional that you are. We will get higher fees, and unfortunately, as an appraiser 26, 27 years now, I can tell you after talking to a lot of people aren't going to play ball. Take time to learn. So the $600 appraisal's coming. Unfortunately, we're going to have to do the work up front to get it. And some people are going to fall off. That's just how it's going to work. But appraisers aren't going anywhere. Appraisers are not going anywhere. Zillow craps the bed so much it's not even funny, and they've got probably the most elaborate regression program on the planet. They're a $5 billion company, and I assure you they do it better than the government. And even they can't get it right most of the time. So appraisers aren't going anywhere. What's going to happen is the appraiser's going to be a major analyst of data. They're going to be the one that has to house all this data. They're going to be Mr. Wizard, housing all this data and statistically chopping it up to give an end result. So you're going to have to walk into the future with me, and I hope you all do. There's room. There's room. So thank you guys again for attending. Like I said, at bottom of any page, if you got multi-monitors, you got an extra laptop sitting around the house, play one of these. Remember that one, that rural one? That's nasty. You want to know how to handle nasty? We cut this data up. We threw it in every program on the planet. Regression, single line regression, grouping statistics. We did everything. There was not. This is a rural market typical simulation. There was no method on the planet that you were just going to be able to dump this data in and get good results. And by goodness, by the end of it, I show you how we get good results with pairs, and you can't get it with anybody else. But play these in the background. I mean, you hear something that catches your eye, hit pause, back it up a little bit, grab a coffee break, and learn. It's just about engagement and time. But this is kryptonite to CU, and this is absolutely an RPG in the statistical world of real estate. You can be the rock star. It's not going to take you that long to learn it. You just got to dig in and engage. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time.